Hello everyone. I am not in my kitchen today. I did want to spend a little bit of time with you just talking about eating plants as an older person. Yeah, I have a class called You're Never Too Old to Eat Kohlrabi, and honestly, you aren't too old to ever eat kohlrabi, but also just to eat more plants in general. This is really important right now. I have a long healthcare background and many things that inspire me to eat more plants. I don't even like to call myself vegan all the time because sometimes things come up, and yeah, I do eat eggs occasionally and other things, but I'd say 95 to 99% of the time I eat more plants, and my husband does too. And what inspires me is because it is hard. Don't let anybody fool you that trying to eat a plant based lifestyle when you've had decades of socialization is easy. And that's why I think a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people just really struggle with how do I get my protein? That's probably my number one question. And I think that's really important, but I think there's a lot of different data out there on how much protein you actually need. But with that, it is a mind bender on how do you eat more cuisines, enjoy more cuisines, how do you prep, especially as we get older and maybe you're singles or doubles, whatever that looks like. And how do you do that? How do you assemble? How do you cook from scratch? How do you do that? So that's what really inspires me to do what I do. I haven't done a whole lot the last couple of months in regards to videos because actually I've been teaching quite a few classes here in northern Colorado and online with Learn It Live, and trying just to build some easy ebooks for people to use who are what I call singles and doubles. You're at home, you're trying to enjoy the maybe lasting years of your work, or maybe you're starting to think about retirement, or maybe you're retired. And how do you eat more plants? Whatever that looks like for you. So, yeah, I think it's really an important discussion to have right now, especially in regards to our medical care and our healthcare scenarios going on right now. Many of us might be thinking about eating more plants because of the environment or the climate. Absolutely. Maybe there's something sacred about eating more plants. I know certainly when I prep, it is and work with vegetables, and I teach young people how to enjoy vegetables and how to see one that's spiky and one that's soft and one that's firm and one that has roots and stems. There is something very sacred about this wonderful food gift that we're given by whoever you believe in, but it's a gift. Yeah, produce is absolutely a gift for us. Produce and grains are a gift for us to enjoy. But a huge reason of why people in my population, 55 plus, should be eating more plants, whatever that looks like, is really for health reasons, whether it's cancer or cardiovascular disease, diabetes. Eating more plants has absolutely shown to be an effective way to manage chronic illnesses, especially those that are preventable. So some of you may know my history. My dad had cardiovascular disease and hypertension and diabetes. He had a quintuple bypass at my age when he was 65, and had 10 years of just terrible post-operative complications for 10 years until he passed away at 75, including a huge ventral hernia. So it was devastating to see him really the last 10 years of his retirement being chronically ill with very significant symptoms from his legs being swollen with edema, and literally blisters coming from the edema, to just ongoing cardiovascular problems and hypertension. It was just very devastating for me. So for my driver of eating more plants, obviously was my husband when he was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. But honestly, a huge driver was wanting to get to 65 and not have hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, to try to prove that it's not all genetics, that you can do something about your lifestyle and make significant changes. So for me right now, I've met that goal. I'm super happy. My husband's doing really well. And we eat a lot of plants. But I will tell you, it's hard. I tell a lot of people in my class, yeah, I cried. It was hard. And I think what was difficult about it is because I knew we needed to be eating even more plants than what we were doing. So we had transitioned a little bit in 15s maybe. We had started to eat more cruciferous vegetables after my mother and my uncle both passed away from pancreatic cancer. And we were adding these cruciferous vegetables in, absolutely, but we were still eating quite a bit of meat and cheese. And I grew up, as many of you have, of choosing your meat and then choosing your sides, right? And normally the sides were not always green, or it would be kind of like a keto looking thing, or it was like meat and then greens, like a salad. So I get that. But I'm just going to tell you it is possible, and you are never too old to eat kohlrabi. You're never too old to enjoy and experience cuisines with more beans and grains and lentils and nuts and seeds and less meat, whatever that looks like. So what's a really big driver I think is important is healthcare costs. And I have a very extensive, weird background in healthcare, from disease management to some stints in performance improvement and quality. And always looking at and understanding where we put our healthcare dollars, even personally. How are we spending those healthcare dollars? And when we look at healthcare spending, in the United States, 27% of healthcare spending is in 2016. This is almost 10 years ago. There's more data out there now. We spend on preventable diseases. And then over 70%, 75% of medical costs, or percentage of medical costs in the U.S. are spent on care of individuals with chronic illnesses. So chronic illnesses, really, we think about chronic illnesses like people really disabled, but chronic illnesses are hypertension, cardiovascular disease, stroke, things that, are chronic that we have to manage through medications and have long-term slow effects. So we spend a lot of money on preventable chronic illnesses. And I kind of struggle with that, I'll be honest. I'm like, okay, where do we put our healthcare dollars? And certainly we have a great healthcare system. I've worked at some in the best in the world, and always on the intervention side of things and not always on the prevention side of things. So if you want to prevent or even just reduce healthcare utilization, that your own healthcare utilization, whether it's insurance, whatever, you can help that by eating more plants. And it doesn't have to be the whole no fat, no salt, no sugar. It can be, there's variations. If you attend any of my classes, you'll see there's like this spectrum of what plant-based eating can be, and trying to choose something and select something that works for you. So, but I will tell you, it's a weird one. It's such a mind bender, and you wonder how you didn't eat that way before. Like, But I will tell you, I, like myself, grew up like many of you, and in the 60s and 70s, and Mom was working, and we assembled dishes with Duncan Hines and Jell-O to make cakes, and a hamburger helper with ground meat, and that was before there was even such a thing as lean ground meat. And eating steaks you were high cotton if you were eating steak at least once a week. And so we grow up that way, we're socialized that way. And portion sizes get bigger, we don't move as much. But just trying to think about eating patterns and changing that is very difficult for some people. So I just wanted to share some thoughts that it wasn't like super easy for me at first. It's not like I didn't cook, but I loved cuisines. I did love to cook, but not necessarily how to manage produce. So it's second nature now, and sometimes I can whip something together now in the refrigerator by just taking all the jars, and I know how to pull them together and use up all the leftovers. So just give yourself a break. It's kind of scary, I guess. It's like, oh gosh, how do I do this? I get a lot of that. Like, what do I do about my cheese? How do I get my protein? I think that's the number one, along with I love cheese. And yeah, so there's different things for different people. Some people never get rid of their cheese and just reduce it. Other people, like me, are kind of okay with just eliminating it and using vegan cheeses for color and contrast, but not necessarily to become all melty and gooey and yummy at every dish. And so, yeah. And also remember, we have thousands of plants for us to enjoy, and we have thousands of taste buds in our mouth that, help us, figure out what we enjoy and what we don't. And so you may enjoy something that I don't enjoy. Some people like okra, that's totally okay. I'm from the South, just can't handle it. And that's okay. We are bombarded with so many different kinds of standard American diet foodstuffs out there that to enjoy just beautifully plated food is really a rarity. And I'm talking beautifully plated, mostly plant-based food, not a 8 or 12 ounce steak with a baked potato dripping in butter or scallop potatoes and a salad about this big. So yeah, we are just bombarded with a lot of information and not a lot of resources out there that really support you on a day in, day out basis or just promote it. You drive down the street, you look to see how many fast food restaurants there are and how much meat and cheese there are in our grocery stores. And having to navigate past that and keep yourself into the produce section and the grain section can be challenging. So I'm just here to send some encouragement that if you're my age, okay, that's really my target audience is 55 plus. You're trying to make some changes to allow yourself plenty of time to navigate through it, not to, it's okay to get frustrated because certainly I did. Yeah, it's okay, but I think it's the one that for me is one of the biggest things we can do in regards to healthcare expenditures. And trying to reduce that is really just trying to reduce comorbid conditions that require multiple medications that can be managed adjunctly with a lifestyle intervention such as just eating more plants. So lots of data out there. I have some of my best followers that I enjoy that I'll put into the description box below who I enjoy following. And again, my primary focus is to teach you like how to cut a kohlrabi and how to do something easy and make things easy and quick in assembly. But at the same time, I'm also doing this because I believe that it is one of the interventions that can have the highest impact on our overall healthcare expenditures. And especially when we look at Medicare expenditures for chronic illness, and being able to say, okay, well, maybe instead of 3 blood pressure medicines, maybe I can bring it down to 2, or maybe never be on some of these medications that are for these chronic illnesses. So it's possible, okay? It's absolutely possible, and I think we're going to be seeing even more and more focus now that the American Medical Association has started to and some of the other associations pushing a plant-based lifestyle on their websites and in their education and training. That, physicians have never gotten a lot of nutrition training in their medical school. And so a lot of it is backfilled and waited until there's a condition. And then, like I worked in cardiac and pulmonary rehab, then you would go see the dietitian. So instead of waiting for the condition to occur, to continue to push prevention. Yeah, what inspired me on this one was the American Medical Association was going to put in some into their, say, guidelines, but really looking at plant-based lifestyle as a prevention for young women, for breast cancer in young women. I encourage people to eat more plants, whatever works for them. Some people want to do an overnight flip, that's fine. But a lot of us are kind of in that slow change management mode. If you're involved in change management, you've got slow adopters, you've got middle adopters, late adopters, you've got transformational change, you've got a slower change. So models. So a lot of what to think about when you're eating more plants is, or wanting to eat more plants, is kind of what's the motivator? What motivates you to do it? And then kind of where you are like in a change model. How do you normally take on change? And then how do you reward yourself and forgive yourself if you just rewind and have to back up and start over again. That's totally fine. Anyway, I appreciate you watching this video. I could be making this and I could be making this, which are coming soon. But I just kind of wanted to share some thoughts with you. I don't show myself on video too much anymore, but this was important to me just for you to think about if you're 50, 55 plus and wanting to make some lifestyle changes that will really impact you at 60, 65, 70 and on, your longevity, how you feel. Lots of good information out on the web, on YouTube, a lot of great researchers doing different kinds of work with plant-based lifestyles and different diseases. Do some research, whatever that looks like. Eat more plants. You're never too old to eat kohlrabi. And thanks for watching. Cooking video coming soon.